welcome back to POV Italian Cooking, where you see cooking from my point of view. Tonight we are going to be making sea scallops in a white wine sauce and a basil risotto. Now, I've never cooked sea scallops before, so I've done some reading. Of course, I've eaten sea scallops 100 times and I've seen them prepared both on TV. I've read about it and talked to a couple folks who have cooked them, so it'll be an experience. And also with the risotto, the wife and I have made risotto together. She's actually made it on her own, and then we kind of made it together. Risotto can be really difficult, so we'll see if we can make a good bowl of risotto tonight. These are both new recipes for me, so we'll struggle through this together. But let's get started. This is going to be a lot going on, so we're going to do some cutaways so I can do some of the prep off camera. But I'll take you through the hard parts. But let's get started. Alright, now we've got all of our ingredients laid out for both our risotto and our sea scallops. Now some of these ingredients are going to go in both. But let's talk first about our scallops. So for our sea scallops, now I have some notes here because there's a lot going on tonight. So for our sea scallops, of course, we have our jumbo sea scallops. We're going to use the juice from 2 lemons. We're going to use, of course, we're going to have some parsley as well, some finely chopped garlic, some wine, salt, pepper, and olive oil. Now we'll talk about how much of the ingredients kind of as we're preparing our food. For our basil risotto, of course, you're going to have your risotto. Chicken broth. Now you'll see I've already got the chicken broth over on the stove heating because you want to have it warm so you can spoon it into your risotto. That way it will absorb properly. Of course, olive oil, salt, and pepper. This is a basil risotto, so we're going to use a lot of basil, shallots, Parmesan cheese, and garlic, and of course our white wine as well. So our white wine tonight is Ruffino Pinot Grigio. Let's give it a taste now. It's alright. I'm not a big Pinot Grigio fan. Now, one thing I do know about Pinot Grigio, if you see this, it's very clear. The more yellow, the more darker colored your Pinot Grigio, the better it is. There's 100 different reasons for that, but the big winemakers that use Pinot Grigio bought up most of the wineries in Italy, so you have to find a small batch maker of Pinot Grigio, and you'll find the smaller the batch, the more yellow the Pinot Grigio, and just the better it is. So I'm going to rearrange things. As you can see, keep your scallops on wax paper away from everything so you don't cross-contaminate. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start on the risotto first because risotto takes a long time to cook. So I'm going to cut away, rearrange. We'll be right back. Alright, let's get started on our prep. Now, first thing, keep in mind, I mentioned this earlier, but we'll talk about it again. Our chicken broth must be warm. So I've had it over on the stove. It's warm. It's waiting on everything else. So put that can in the recycling. First thing we're going to do is we need a cup of Parmesan cheese shredded. So we'll go ahead and take care of that off camera. We're gonna first, let's get our shallots ready. We've got to get 3 shallots. All a shallot is, it's a more delicate onion, powerful flavor. I'm gonna move kind of quick too. I worked all day. It's getting a little late at night for dinner, so I want to get this rolling pretty quick. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna dice up these 3 shallots. Big chef knife here that sooner or later I will cut my finger off with. So we're going to cut this nice and thin, then we're going to dice it up. We're going to do this with all 3 of our shallots. Try not to cut the end of my finger off here. That'd make for a good video. Watch me bleed out on camera. So I'm going to go ahead and get these diced up. Alright, so we have our shallots cut up. Now, if you guys saw my opening shot, I had 3 really big shallots, 2 of which had 2 bulbs on them. So once I got through chopping two of the larger shallots up, I'm not going to use the 3rd shallot because I feel like that's enough onion or enough shallots. Like I said, I've always said go with your gut. We've also got our cup of shredded Parmesan ready to go. My beautiful wife is helping us out. We're going to get a cup of loosely packed basil, give or take. Another thing we need is about 3 cloves of garlic. So We'll probably go with 4 or 5 because these are pretty small cloves. Like I said, go with your gut. Got to go with your gut. Our basil leaves, our parmesan, and our garlic cloves, and a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt and pepper are going to go in the food processor, and we're going to chop them all up. A few more, babe. This garlic oil is really sticking to my hands, making it fun to peel the garlic cloves. Once we get over to, actually making the rice, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about a nice dinner we went and had at the B spot. All right, look at that. I'm going to wash this garlic oil off my hands. We'll be right back. So what we're going to do is we are going to put our basil leaves in, our garlic. Let's go with a little bit of salt. We're almost making a pesto here. Kind of a garlic pesto minus a few items, which in a future episode we will be doing a pesto. Nothing better than homemade pesto. I'm not going to worry too much about getting enough salt and pepper because we can salt and pepper our risotto. Go with about a tablespoon or 2 of olive oil. That's good. Let's get our top on. We're going to pulse this. Okay, I'm going to grab a rubber spatula here real quick just so we can scrape it down off the sides. Look at that. Perfect. Now, we are going to add our Parmesan cheese. Now again, we got about a cup of Parmesan cheese here. Put that down in. We've already grated it, so really what we're going to be doing here is just pulse it a few times to get everything mixed in, and I'm going to kind of pre-mix it here just to be sure, and pull everything off the sides because I want it to mix up nice and good. Get the top on this bad boy. Pulse. Take a look. Oh, look at that, man. That looks just like a pesto. Almost a dry pesto. You know what? I think that looks good. Now we're going to leave this sit until we need it. Let's go ahead and put the top on. Alright, we're reset over by our stove. As you can see here, we have our chicken broth. It's warm. Some of it probably has evaporated, so I'm probably going to have to add a little bit more to that. We'll knock that out in a second. Got our shallots. So let's get some olive oil in our pan, just a little bit of olive oil. Maybe a tablespoon or so. And we need 3 tablespoons of butter. If it says 3, I usually go 3.5. So let's get our stove turned on and get that going. Now I'm going to reach over here while this is warming up. I'm going to reach over here in my trusty closet because I just bought some more chicken broth. I'm just going to add a little bit more in there because I'd rather have way too much than not enough, because risotto is so temperamental. You got to get it right, and you got to be patient. Be patient, let it cook, take your time. That's the key to risotto, and the key to getting this thing off is not having butter on your hands. Let's get the stinking top off this. That's why we have sharp knives. There we go. Just going to add about a cup to this. There we go. That'll make up for what evaporated while we were doing our prep. Lid on that. So you can see our butter's starting to melt. What we want to happen here is we want to get this going. Go ahead and dump in our shallots. We want our shallots to be opaque. So they are going to cook for a couple minutes. We'll say 2-3 minutes. Then we're going to put our arboreal rice in and kind of let that do the same thing. Let it cook until it gets opaque. Then we're going to start ladling in a cup at a time our broth. And we're going to take our time, let the broth absorb before we add more. You got to keep doing that. If not, your rice will not get tender. Okay, we're back. You can see that our shallots are the butter's starting to sizzle here, trying to get everything going. Looking pretty good. Get our heat turned up, get this pan hot, and get it going. Okay, look at that. Looking good. You can smell the butter, can smell the shallots. This is going to turn out nice. Our chicken broth is still back here warming. Man, that's a nice smell of the butter and the shallots together. You can hear that sizzle. So while we're waiting on that, let's go ahead and get our rice ready to put in. This is in a vacuum seal. Now, the recipe really calls for about 1.5 cups. This is about 1.5 cups of rice. We're going with this. I don't like to measure. It takes too much time. Alrighty. These are ready. Let's go ahead and put our rice in. Same thing with our rice. We want our rice to get a little bit opaque, soak up some of that butter and olive oil, get a little seasoned by the shallots. Give that a quick stir, and then we're going to get rid of this plastic. The rice came in. Okay. Give this a shake. Get the pan evened out. Trash with this stuff. Keep a clean workspace. It makes it easier at the end. Alright. Now again, anytime you cook, use unsalted butter. That way you can control your seasoning. If you use a salted butter and you get a little heavy-handed with your salt that you're adding to the recipe, it's just going to make it just non-edible. You do not want to go too crazy with the salt, at least from, you know, sources that you can't control. So use unsalted butter unless the recipe calls for salted butter, which most of them won't unless you're doing like some baking dish. We don't do that. I don't bake. So we're going to let this go for about 2 minutes. The rice will start to turn opaque, and then we'll be right back. Alright, so our rice is pretty much ready. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to pour in about 3/4 cups of white wine. Eyeball it. There we go. Just eyeball it. Don't measure. A little bit more. You can never use too much wine. Now, we're going to let this cook for just a few seconds. We want it really just to soak up that wine. That's going to be the first flavor that our rice soaks up. Turn this down to about 4. Let that soak until absorbed. And then we're going to start ladling in our chicken broth. All right, let's see if look at that. Our wine has been soaked up. So let's start with one big ladle of our chicken broth. This stuff is going to drink it up. Stayed about 3.5 or 4. We're going to see it just drink this up. Once it drinks it up, we'll put in more. It'll take about a minute. We're going to keep doing this until everything, we've soaked up all of our chicken broth. My beautiful helper, my wife, is going to take care of this here in just a second or two, so that way we can start prepping our scallop. Chicken broth gone. Next ladle of chicken broth in the pool. We're just going to rinse and repeat. We're going to keep doing this. Now, a couple things to remember with scallops. There's 2 ways to screw them up. You over season them and you cook them too long. So don't let that happen. We're going to season them lightly. They're scallops. They don't take a lot of seasoning. So we're just going to go with some salt and some pepper. And I didn't grab the pepper. So grab our pepper. And the prep on our sea scallops is done. Now, we're doing a white wine sauce with our sea scallops. So there are a few other little ingredients we're going to need, and we're going to go ahead and get those ready. Those are, first, we want the juice of 2 lemons. Now, I don't have a juicer. I wish I did. We're just going to squeeze these the best we can into a nice cup, like so. Again, we want the juice from both of them. I'm going to do that off camera. All right. So this should be enough garlic for what we need it for. All right. So again, now this garlic we are going to want to mince up. So it's going to be more than just peeling, but we're going to do a mince on it as well. Wow, that little bit of lemon that I squeezed out really smells good. We're going to go ahead off camera and squeeze out the juice out of the rest of those lemons. So we get our garlic all ready and in a cup. Fun. I can feel the garlic oil already sticking to my hands, which is a wonderful sign because we want a good bunch of the garlic oil to season our olive oil. Now, talk a little bit more about our sea scallops. I'm going to mince that garlic up off camera. I'll show you how fine we make it. A lot of people don't even know what a scallop is, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't really know what it was either. So I'm going to flash up a quick picture right now and show you. It's what's called a bivalve. It's essentially a big mollusk, a big clam that they harvest out of the ocean, and they back away from the picture, back our scallops. They take these huge chunks of really, really tender meat, just beautiful stuff. So here in about 10 minutes, you know, our rice should be getting, our risotto should be getting a little closer to done. These only take a couple minutes. So literally we are going to get the pan just smoking hot, put these in. They're going to cook for about 1.5 minutes. We're going to turn them, let them cook for about 1 minute. The only reason we're going to let them cook for 1 minute is because we're going to add some wine and some butter and a few other ingredients to kind of make our sauce. Then the scallops come out and we finish our sauce to go over them. So back to our garlic. We want to get our garlic minced up. So we're just going to cut this up and mince it up real fine. The only other ingredient we got to get ready is our parsley. Now our parsley is going to go into the sauce to help season it as well. So I'm going to go ahead off camera and finish chopping up this garlic. Our parsley, you guys have seen me prepare this before. The way I like to do it is I like to pull the leaves off the stem. Most people I've seen do this, they do take the leaves off. So I'm going to pull them off, probably a couple tablespoons chopped. Now that means we're going to have a little bit more than that before we go chopping on it, because once you start chopping it, it looks like you have a lot until you put the knife to it. And then it turns out you don't have that much. Now this is an Italian flat parsley. So we'll just get that in a pile. That's probably more than enough. We're going to get that chopped up. Put that in a nice pile, because you get into a pile, it's easy to chop. Get my camera tilted up so you can actually see that. Now the camera's shaking again because I use a chest mounted GoPro to do this, so you can have the point of view, hence the name Point of View Italian. So cut away real quick and I'll be right back. Alright, we've got our garlic minced up. As you can see here, I tried to make it as small as possible. There's a few little flakes of parsley in there, but that's not going to hurt anything. So I'm going to put it over here in this cup, because these will go into the pan with the olive oil to get the olive oil seasoned. Get our parsley, as much of our parsley as we can. That's probably about enough. I'm kind of going fast too, so I'm making a little more of a mess than I normally would. At least I'll tell you guys that, and my wife's standing behind me saying, you know, that's right, you'd make a big mess. So let's get this. She didn't say anything. So let's get our lemon squeeze, keeping our seeds out of our lemons. So we got to taste this weekend for something other than Italian food. One of the chefs I really enjoy watching on TV, just because I think he's a character and does a good job, is Michael Simon, who is an Ohio native from the Cleveland area, has a few different restaurants here in Ohio. Since we live in Columbus, we went to what's called the B Spot, which is his burger joint, and oh my gosh, the burgers are incredible. I had what was called the Yo Burger, which is this huge slab of ground beef topped with hot capicola and this banana pepper sauce that they make, and it was on a brioche bun. The wife had a grilled chicken sandwich, which she said was really good. I got a few seeds in there, so we'll make sure that we strain this before we put it in. Great dinner. The way he has his restaurant set up is it kind of looks like a car garage. Really cool. So we have a messy work area. We have our lemon. We have our parsley, our garlic. I'm going to break away. So the wife is still working on the risotto. You can see that we darn near have used all of the chicken broth. While she's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and get things ready for our scallops. For our scallops, we are going to put our olive oil in. We're going to use, I don't know, about 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. We want this to be screaming hot. Let me adjust my camera. You guys are kind of looking at an empty burner. We want this to be smoking hot. Get our olive oil all over our pan. Again, our scallops are just going to sit in there for about 1.5 minutes each side. And then we're going to dump in our some wine, some lemon juice, and garlic. We're going to use about 2 cups of wine. Alright, you can see our olive oil smoking, and that's literally what you want. You want your olive oil to be smoking. Now, we're just going to put these in there. They're going to cook for just a minute. You can hear them nice and sizzly. Adjust the camera so you guys can see. You don't want them to touch in the pan. You want them to be separated. And by the time we get these in there, they actually won't take a lot of time before we actually have to turn them. Because the kids are home tonight. Got grease going here. Because the kids are home tonight, I've got a lot of scallops. We have 15 scallops, and they look really good. They're big ones, big old boys. Ouch. Ouchie. Ouchie. So, turn our pan around there so we can... I wish my burners were just a little bigger. So those are sizzling. While those are sizzling, we get some stuff rearranged. Wash the hands so we don't cross-contaminate. By the time we get our hands washed, we get back over there. It'll be time to turn them. Dry the hands. Look at that. Yeah, you do not want to touch these. You want to let them cook. Let them cook for their minute and a half. You can see they're starting to actually get brown on the bottom there, and that's what you want. We'll probably turn those ones in the middle first because they've got the core of the burner. Once we turn them, we are going to add about a half a cup of the wine. Let them sizzle for a minute, and then take them out and add the rest of our ingredient to our sauce. All right. Look at that sear on that scallop. See that, honey? Doesn't that look good? This one's stuck. So that will go to the daughter's boyfriend. He's back there. He can hear me.
If they like them.
So, all right. These are falling apart a little bit. Remember I told you guys if we screw something up, we're going to screw it up together. I'm going to grab a spatula because these are not cooperating. We want to get a real good sear on these. Ones on the outside, of course, not being over the best part of the heat, are a little slower to cook. Again, the key is don't overcook, don't over season. It turns out I already turned that one. So the dog heard a noise, so she's going to be yippy. Get our heat turned up. Nice and sizzling again. Don't want them to cook too long. These ones here in the middle that actually have a good sear, they're going to cook less. All right, we're going to let that cook for just, I don't know, another 30 seconds. Then we're going to hit it with about a half a cup of wine. That's going to infuse a little bit of flavor into these. Scallops already have a great flavor. Again, some of these are falling apart. I don't know why, seeing as how this is the first time I've cooked them. Some of them don't have a real strong sear because the sear is on the bottom of the pan. The great thing about that is that stuff on the bottom of the pan is going to be one of the flavors. It's actually going to add to the flavor of the topping once we get it done. How's that risotto looking, dear? Look at that.
Looking good.
Looking really good. All right, this has been long enough. We put a half a cup of wine. We're going to let them cook in that for about a minute. Nice and steamy. You can see that the alcohol is actually evaporating. We're going to let them sit in there for about another minute. And then we're going to pull them all out, put them on the pan, and sit them out of the way and work on our sauce. Listen to that wonderful sizzle, that wine. So, making a little bit of a mess. This ought to be fun cleaning up tonight. Got a little grease splatters, honey. So we are going to wait here about another 30 seconds and pull that off. Again, we're using the Ruffino Pinot Grigio 2014. Let's see, look at that sear on the other side of this scallop. Now granted, this scallop, we didn't do a good job searing it on the one side. This scallop, he's done. He's done with the party. So let's get our scallops out. Scallops just do not take that long to cook. Now these ones that have been on the outside of the pan, while we're getting the other ones from the inside, let's push them over and let them get a little bit of the good heat. Get these ones out of the pan. Same thing with this. Get a little good heat on that side. We may have torn up a few of them, but I'll tell you what, scallops are they just taste good, so I'll eat a torn up scallop any day of the week. Over a McDonald's fish sandwich especially. All right. So now what we're going to do, turn our heat down. Get the rest of these scallops out of there. They are done. Scallops do not take long to cook. If your scallop smells funny, don't put it in the pan. They should not have much of a smell at all. All right, so now we're going to put in another 1.5 cups of wine. We're going to eyeball it. That's about right. Grab a wooden spoon here, or wooden spatula. We're going to go ahead and scrape the bottom of our pan. Those wonderful scrapings on the bottom of the pan add to the flavor of our sauce. So we want to make sure that we get them in there and we start to break that up. So we are going to go ahead and add our garlic and our lemon juice. Turn our heat back up because we want this to reduce by half. Then we're going to drop in our parsley and a little bit of butter, about a tablespoon of butter. Get our heat turned up. And then what we'll do is when we're plating, which this is going to be awesome plated, oh my gosh, this with the risotto is going to be incredible. When we're plating, we'll spoon some of this sauce over our wonderful scallops. So I'm going to break away while this is reducing, move a few things around, putting the last of our chicken stock in the risotto. It's going to be done real soon. We're going to get this plated up soon and we're going to have some awesome eating. So be right back. Okay, that has reduced by about half. So we are going to now add our butter. Again, you want about a tablespoon of butter. Add our parsley. Parsley could be a little finer chop. Doesn't matter. Add a little bit more parsley. Again, I'll say this every time I cook. Go with your gut. I don't worry so much about measuring. I eyeball it. I go with my gut. I test it. I see how it tastes. That's an important thing. Let's try our sauce here. I'll tell you what, let's let that butter get incorporated a little bit more before we try the sauce. Put in a little bit of our pepper. That looks really good. Take a quick peek at our rice here. Starting to soak up that remaining little bit. Again, you got to just be patient. You got to stir the entire time. It's a good workout. The wife's wearing her, or we're both wearing our Fitbit, so we're getting steps while we're sitting here stirring.
I just hit my goal.
You hit your goal?
Yeah.
All right. Look at that. That is done. Let's do a quick taste test. Again, we don't want an overpowering flavor. We want a subtle, kind of a subtle, rich flavor. Yep, that's good. It's lemony. And you know what? My gut's telling me put more butter in. I'm gonna put more butter in. I just feel like it needs a little bit more butter to offset some of that lemon juice. So I'm gonna add about another tablespoon of butter here. Using a spoon to cut it, so, accuracy, right? Let's get this incorporated. I want a little more rich flavor than a lemony flavor, and I think that butter will do it. You know what? Don't be scared of butter, folks. It's good for you. As long as you're using a real butter. If it says country crock or it comes in a tub and it says margarine, throw it away. Don't use it's okay, use it on your toast. Don't use it on anything. If it were me, I wouldn't use it on anything. If you have it and you're just too cheap to throw it away, use it on your toast and never ever buy it again. Shame on you. All right, let's try this again. I'm going to turn my heat way down because I don't want it really to reduce anymore, because it'd be kind of nice to have a little bit left to spoon over our scallops. It needed that butter. That's good stuff right there. All right, let's check on a risotto. Get my trusty tasting spoon and see how crunchy we are here. It is starting to soak up everything. Man, it's on the crunchy side yet.
Turn it up.
So, turned up the heat just a little bit. It's on about 5 right now. We want it to soak up that remaining broth. If we're nearly soaked up that remaining broth and we're still a little bit crunchy, we'll add a little bit more broth. I don't have any more heated. We'll make it work. Gonna cut away, be right back. All right, so we've switch places here, and I'm putting the finish on the risotto. It is nearly done. You can see here it's starting to thicken up. Most of our broth has been absorbed. Man, that's really good. Still a little crunchy yet, but we're going to go ahead and add the little pesto mixture that we made. Throw this over in the sink, because we want to go ahead and get this flavor incorporated while it's still got a little bit of the chicken broth to absorb. Let's go ahead and get this all scraped in, get all the good little bits and pieces in there. Okay, get that there. Go ahead and scrape the sauce there off our spatula. Here, honey, can you take this?
What's that?
Look at that. Get this all stirred up, because this is pretty much done. Turn the heat down. Risotto just takes time. Oh my gosh. You just have to be patient. Ladle the broth in. Keep your broth hot so that it does not cool down. It doesn't. If you try to use cold or room temperature chicken broth, you're slowing down your absorption. So keep it warm. Spoon it in slow. We want this, again, our pesto mixture was garlic, basil, Parmesan cheese, a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt and pepper. Oh my gosh. You notice we didn't put any salt in this. The Parmesan cheese, we put a little bit of salt in the pesto, but the Parmesan cheese gave it this needed saltiness. That is done. That is awesome. Let's go ahead and get this plated up. My beautiful assistant is going to hand me a plate.
Or hit you in the head with it.
Or hit me in the head with it. Both of which I probably deserve. Go ahead and we're going to put a little bit of risotto. Try to make this look nice. Now I'm going to tell you right up front, plating is not a skill that I have yet mastered or even tried to master. I want to eat, so I just plop it on a plate. Put our scallops up in the microwave, really just to get them out of the way, keep them warm, and keep them away from the cat who was eyeballing them earlier. Get a few scallops on this plate. Well, this plate I didn't do a good job with. I'll plate it a little differently in the next plate. We are going to spoon over some of our wonderful sauce, and we'll get our second plate plated up here. Just going to kind of let that drizzle, slowly drizzle over. It doesn't take much. Again, our scallops are very subtle tasting. Okay, get some scallops on this plate. I would like to have seen on my scallops a little better sear. Not gonna lie, didn't do a good job with the sear on these bad boys. It's okay, first time we've made them, we'll go with it. Drizzle our sauce. Now I am going to break away. We're going to get set over on the table, set up over by the table. We're going to give this wonderful, look at that. We're going to give this wonderful looking dish a try. So, be right back in just a minute. Not yet. You heathen. This is Brock Rocky. In our last episode, I talked about the Italian families that came to Gallipolis, which is a French city. Brock, who is my daughter's boyfriend, last name Rocky, he is from one of those families. His family owns a restaurant there. Tell us about your family's restaurant real quick.
It's just a hot dog shop called Ramos. It's delicious.
And if you ever go to Gallipolis and you don't go to Ramos, shame on you. Now I will warn you, you eat a Ramos hot dog with the sauce, which it's the secret sauce, you will taste that sauce for an entire day, and probably the next day you'll still smell it on your breath. So, all right, Brock, let's give this a try, buddy. Now, Brock has not had scallops before. So we'll see what he says. Wow. The scallops are really good. Let's give this risotto a try. This basil risotto.
That's delicious.
Oh, honey, you're going to love this. This is really good. We didn't use an absolute ton of basil. The Parmesan cheese gives it a good saltiness. Garlic, of course, you always got to have garlics and shallots. That rounds out the flavor. The scallops are incredible. The sauce really supplements the flavor. So, thanks for watching POV Italian. We're going to cut away so we can down this because it won't be pretty. And we'll see you next time. Say bye, Brock.
Bye.
All right. Future episodes, just click the subscribe button in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Yeah, if you have any comments or you want to learn how to prepare a particular Italian dish, put that down in the comments below. I'll read all the comments. Don't forget to follow us on social media. If you look on Instagram at instagram.com/povitalian, on Twitter at twitter.com/povitalian, and on Facebook at facebook.com/povitalian. If you'd like to contact me by email, you can contact me at povitalian@gmail.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later. Ciao.